in this one, we're going to create the bars, and we're going to then use this right here to cut out the bars. And then we will manipulate the line a little bit, and then we'll color them using the gradient tool. And so I am introducing the gradient tool right now. It's going to be fairly tricky. It's this tool right here. The hotkey is G. And we'll get to that here, okay? So it's going to be pretty difficult, and just make sure you just pause, and I'll try and be pretty specific with it, but just know that you have the freedom to kind of decorate this the way that you want to, okay? So by now you should also have at least 3 colors. 2 of them can be roughly the same darkness in like value, like this red one and this blue one are fairly dark, and then this one is fairly light if we're comparing them. The reason why we need that is because we need to make sure that when we're drawing a shape on top here that we have a lighter color, so you can see how that really stands out, versus if this shape was perhaps this color, you know, and it's going to blend in. So if we have another dark color like this, even this dark green, you can see how that's kind of too quiet, okay? So you need to have at least one of them that's kind of contrasting those, all right? And then hopefully you have your layers set up this way. Basically everything that I have drawn, other than the stuff that I just drew here, literally here, everything that we've made so far should be in here, except I guess this drawing right here. All right, so what we're going to do is create our bars. And I taught you to use your line segment tool once upon a time and then drag out a bunch of copies and like this, and then hit Command D. And that way will work, but there is a different way that I want you to use. We're still going to use our line segment tool right here. We're going to drag out bars that are larger than our drawing, so probably the size of your artboard will be good enough. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to hit I, and that's going to put this color in the fill, at which I'm going to flip-flop these. And so now I have it in the stroke, and I have no fill. Let's go to our properties and make this pretty big. Now, if you want, this is where you can decide if you want your bars to be big or small. I'm going to make mine, I think, fairly big. See what happens, okay? And at this point, I'm going to put it right around here. And you know what? I'm going to drag out one copy of that. Boom, right there. Okay, just for an example. You don't need to do that. And now I will go to Effect and Distort and Transform. We've been here before when we've done Rough In and Zigzag. In this instance, we're going to do a transform. And the only thing that we're transforming here is we're just moving this. And we want to move it horizontally. And so this is the one that we want to do it. So if I hit up, it's going to move it to the right, versus if I hit down on my down arrow, it's going to go to the left there. And how much do I want to move it? I don't know. It's anybody's guess. And the reason why I would want you to create this in your transform effect versus pulling out a copy and hitting Command D is because we can edit this on the fly. So we want a bunch of copies here, and I don't know how many we need. And it's not showing up, and that's because I don't have any space here. There we go. Okay, and so now let's add some more copies. Boom. And so the benefit of doing it this way is because if we don't like the spacing, we can adjust it just like that. Versus if we dragged out a copy, we would have to live with that space. Otherwise, we'd have to redo it. And so when I hit up and down, it might be jumping too much. And you know what? I like that tightness there, but you can also just come in here and freestyle this. You can just do like 0.6, see what happens. Okay. And I don't like that. I like the 0.5 actually. So I'm doing 0.5. You do what you think looks best for yours, okay? And it might be circumstantial to how big your stroke is and things like that, all right? Mine's fairly big. Mine's 20 point. So that's all that we're doing. We're transforming the object, meaning that we're moving it from left to right. So take a quick peek. If yours doesn't look like mine, or if it didn't reproduce, take a quick peek, pause here, and then fix that stuff. So I'm going to hit OK. Now, here's the issue. This is some advanced thinking, but can you see how this one is the only one that has a path in it? The path is the red line right here. None of these have a path in it, and that's because this is just an effect, which means that it's not really happening to it, okay? And if I show you the outlines of everything, you're just going to see the one line right here of the original one. And you don't see the other ones there because they're not actually there. So we need to make them permanently there. And the way that we do that is we take this appearance, this move transform appearance that we put on it, and we make it a permanent. We do that by selecting this first, going up to Object, and then we go to Expand Appearance. And now you can see all of them are strokes, and I can treat each one individually. They are grouped together, so I could right-click and then hit Ungroup, and then select this one individually and move that one around, which I don't actually need that one, so I'm just going to delete it. And these are now all ungrouped, and I'm just going to group them together real fast. Okay, so now they're back together. All right, now we're going to use this, and we're going to use it to cut these lines right here, but we're not going to use a clipping mask, as I explained a little bit previously before. We're going to drag a box over everything, and you can see why this is important that we have our background stuff locked, because if we did it, then that stuff would be selected. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this shift or shape builder tool. It's one of the most fascinating tools in the toolkit, as I explained earlier, and you can see the example there. It's making that cloud out of those shapes, which is kind of cool. So anytime you have shapes intersecting with each shapes, you can use them to add to each other, you can use them to cut each other. In this case, we're going to use them to cut. And so with everything selected, we'll click that. Shift-M is the hotkey. Now look at next to my cursor, there is a plus next to my cursor. And if I hold Option, I have a different option. My second option is minus. And so when I hold minus and drag a line, clicking and dragging with my cursor, it's going to cut those lines. And it will cut these lines like that, okay? And now I can hit V to escape the shape builder tool. And at this point, I don't need that outside shape anymore. I can just select it and I can delete it. Once you all hit Command S to save. So, oops, and I'm going to save. I'll save mine later, not to chew up your time. Save it to the cloud. All right, now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to manipulate the line here. Now, if you aren't sure what to do, it's my advice to drag out a copy. That way we can, you always have a safe copy over here, because we might do some things to this. For example, you might come up here and do an effect to this where you perhaps might roughen this, and that's quite a bit and actually kind of noisy. But is that what your music wants? I mean, do we got like a vibe in here? For some reason, I'm just thinking of like the Gorillaz and some, not Melancholy Hill, but maybe Clint Eastwood. It's vibing music right now. Melancholy Hill might be something that's smooth and maybe doesn't have any of this rough edge to it. But I'm kind of digging that, dude. Honestly, I'm gonna keep those as corners, and I'm gonna bring this down a little bit. And I'm kind of liking that. So I'm going to keep it. And if it's too messy, though, we might need to find balance in some of our other line work, because we can't have messy on top of messy on top of messy. Otherwise, it becomes too chaotic. The one thing that we do have going for us is these are all uniform, meaning that they're all straight up and down. They're all equally spaced, and they have the same width to them. So we have able to unify this chaoticness of this messy line through that uniformity. And so there's still a little bit of geometry to this in that organization. I'm going to test a few other things here. I think I'll go to the stroke menu, and then I think I'm going to play with the stroke profile. I usually do this one for this example, and that's going to make the ends tapered. And I do like that. If you don't do something like that, maybe you could consider capping the edges and keeping it normal. That could be an option. But I like that one. I think the other one that I like is also this one right here. But test them out, see what you like, okay? Between capped edges, between dashed lines, between adjusting this line profile. And look, I can make it go left and right as well. That might have just made my computer crash. Oh, nope, that's all we got, okay? Okay, so yeah, so that's where we're at. I'm going to keep it just like that. I like it, okay? So go ahead and hit Command S, because we're doing some things here that might bog it down. We've got the safe copy down here in case we want to do something else to it. Let's go ahead and jump into, in this tutorial, let's apply the gradient to it. And so you need to have your colors ready. And this is going to be really confusing, so I'm not going to necessarily spend a lot of time talking about the gradient tool. Sometimes you might just need to plug in the numbers that I have built for you and just go from there. So since we're using a stroke versus using a shape right here, so I just dragged out a shape. There we go, and it doesn't have a, so this is a stroke and this is a shape right here. So I have a fill and then I just have a stroked edge here. Our gradient tool will work differently, all right? And so I'm just gonna put that over to the side, maybe not even use it. Let's select this shape here. And you know what, you don't need to select it, just watch here. This is me explaining it to you. Here's our gradient tool, hotkey G. And then when I double click this, that is my best way to open up this menu here. That's the best way to do that. And we are going to do a linear gradient, which means the gradient goes from left to right. And we are going to make sure that this gradient is not on the fill, it's on the stroke. And so you can see I've messed that up there. And so I'm going to, I guess, undo that action and then bring this forward and then put the linear gradient on that right there, okay? And so I can always make these adjustments here. I can put no fill here and add a color there, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of like these are working in tandem to each other. So make sure there's no fill, and then let's put a linear gradient on that. Now, this is where we're gonna, and it changed everything here. So I'm gonna put some color in this. Let's go ahead and thicken it. I have this gradient right here, and you can see this is the colors that are being reflected right here. I have this color and it fades into black. That's what a gradient does. Watch what happens when I change this. I just added more black to that, okay? I can make the black more see-through. Right here I can say make the black fade more. I can make the black fade to nothing, which there will still be black there because it's fading to nothing. So we can still see remnants of it there, things like that. So what we're gonna do here is, I'll put that back at 100. We are going to, I'm going to use this color here. Or actually, I'm going to use both of these colors right here. So I'm going to use my bright one for my main colors, and then I'm going to use this yellow or like burnt orange one, reddish orange one here for the tips of it. And so I'll show you what I mean here. Just watch this, and then it will kind of make sense. So right now, my gradient's going from left to right, and I want to flip this degree-wise. And so I'm going to make it go 90 degrees. Boom. So now it's going that way up and down. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the outside edges of my gradient and I'm going to make them both this red color. So I'm going to select this, grab this little eyedropper here, and I'm going to say, boom, fill that in with red. And then I'm going to take this color, stop, and I'm going to click that, and I'm going to say fill it in with red. And so right now we don't really have a gradient. We have the color going into each other. And it's not going to make a whole lot of sense yet until we finish this. I'm actually going to take the opacity here. And oops, I accidentally clicked and made another one. You can just click and drag these off. Click back to that. I'm going to change the opacity to 0. And so we're actually making them not really show up at all. But they will show up once we add more gradients. So I'm just going to click right here. And I'm going to put I'm going to put this at 50. And I'm going to make the opacity 50, but let me get this color in here first. So I'm going to grab here. This is where I'm going to use my very bright color on this. And then I'm going to cut this down to 50. And I'm going to add another one. And this location is where I'm moving this. So you can see the location slider here is. And I can't really quite tug that in there. I guess I can. I'm going to put it like 52. And then I'm going to make this 100% opacity. And so I've got... I want this I want to be this color here. Boom, there. Now it's that color. Okay, and I want it right up against that one because I want this hard edge right here. So if I spread them out, they're kind of blending into each other. This like beige is blending into each other. And then when I put them next to each other, they don't have enough time to gradually make the gradient. And so I'm getting that kind of hard edge. So I'm doing that on purpose. If you like that, go ahead and copy my method. Otherwise, you can just fill this up with a few colors, okay, that are within your color palette. Don't make it look like a rainbow. Okay, so I'm going to chill right probably at 52. There we go. That looks good to me. Okay, so I've got that set up right here. We're basically going to put that on all of these right here. And so since I've made this right here, I could probably just copy that onto here. So when I select those, I'm going to hit I and see if I can't sample that. And it did put it in here, but let's see if I can. I don't know if I love that. I mean, it's kind of cool. So I'm going to do that from scratch. See if I can't. I'm going to undo. Okay. All right. So I'm going to close that. And you know what? I'm actually going to delete that and then come on over here. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. So selecting this, I'm going to double click and let's do this together. Double click G and make sure your stroke is up and get your as a no fill. And on the left side, Actually, I got to select this, okay? And we're going to edit this gradient. Let's do a linear gradient. Let's change this so it's 90, so it's going up and down, not left and right. This first one, I'm going to click it and then click. Won't let me do them all at once. Just ungroup them. Ungroup. Okay, so just like we were talking about before, see how this path is straight in here? And then we've got this wiggly line. That's an appearance that doesn't really exist. And just like we did before, we have to expand that appearance. We need to make that wiggly appearance permanent. So we're going to go to Object, Expand Appearance. And now, look at that. And so now we have this fill in our line right here. And so I guess now I'm using a fill, not a stroke, okay? So my stroke has no fill on it. And I'm still going to do a linear. I'm going to change this to 90 degrees. And if you didn't do a wiggly thing where you didn't need to expand the appearance, FYI, you'll still be doing that as a stroke, just like I referenced over here, okay? So I'm going to take this and I think I might have to ungroup them. Okay, but I'm wondering if I can select them all and do it. Oh. Okay, let's put that at 90. And let's take this. And I had to double click it to get into here. I think because there's so many selected here, I have to use this eyedropper to then grab that. But I'm also putting this on that. I don't want that on that. I want it on that. There we go. Okay. Now I've got this figured out. Okay, so I'm going to click on this. Now I've got it. Okay. And then I'll select that. Then I'll select this one, select that, click on it. Okay, and then I'll put one in the middle. And I will click on this. And I forgot, I'm going to come by and make this opacity 0. Click on this one, make this opacity 0. Click on this one, make this opacity, roughly 50. So it's 50% see-through. Then I'm going to add another one. And I'm going to make this opacity 100. And I want this color to be this. I'm going to move this kind of on top of it. So if the other one was 50, this one's going to be like 52. Okay. And then I'll just click off that. I'll hit V and then get off that. And so that's what I've got with my gradient there. Now this is a little bit spread out for me. I'm actually going to shrink this. I'm going to hold Shift and then bring this in here a little bit. And I'm digging that. Okay, I was just hitting Command Save there. All right, so that's doing the gradient on the color. I'll see you in the next one. We'll wrap this up.